All your current beliefs about women are a fabrication engineered to maintain your weakness, stemming from films, songs, and even maternal guidance. Society promotes a fantasy that affection is won through hard work, that commitment ensures fidelity, and that your value increases with your giving. The reality, however, is starker, more subtle, and profoundly freeing when you accept it. Connections aren't founded on equity or sentiment. They are founded on psychology. The man ignorant of this fact will live his life emotionally drained by those he strives relentlessly to satisfy. Men are conditioned to express love via service. We gauge our value by our capacity to provide, our energy, our focus, our safeguarding, our resources. We believe self-denial validates love, yet women aren't attracted to self-denial. They are attracted to strength. As soon as a man starts bartering for his worth with his exertions, he has surrendered control. This is because exertion, in the female perspective, implies over-availability, and over-availability extinguishes allure. A man offering excessive amounts prematurely grows predictable, and predictability is the antithesis of desire. Desire thrives on ambiguity. The harder you work to win her, the more her respect for you fades. Powerful men don't aim to satisfy women. They build an existence so complete that women seek to join it. They never plead for focus. They compel it with their presence. This presence isn't boisterous, it's quiet self-assurance. It is the aura of a man requiring no external approval to know his own power. He retains his inner peace, capable of leaving at any time. This calm indifference deeply affects women, as it inverts the typical dynamic of power. You cease pursuing her validation, she begins pursuing yours. This is the contradiction few men ever comprehend. If you place a woman at the nucleus of your universe, she will inevitably drift away. If you stay the nucleus of your own universe, she will be drawn nearer. This isn't hubris. It's a natural pull. Women gravitate toward men who are grounded, calm, and emotionally steadfast. A man who is triggered by each mood swing, dispute, or challenge is a man who still lacks self-mastery, and without mastering yourself, you will never earn a woman's genuine respect. Women challenge you, not with destructive intent, but to confirm your strength is authentic. They must feel that your assurance is not a facade and can endure their turbulence. When she debates, logic isn't always her goal. She's probing to ensure your masculine core is solid. Should you fracture beneath emotional duress, you validate her most profound fear, that you are not a secure presence to yield to. Therefore, when she provokes, remain composed. When she alleges, clarify, do not defend. When she retreats, observe, don't pursue. This is the method of strong men. Not hostility, but contained power. You win not by out-arguing her, but by being more grounded than her. The majority of men misinterpret emotional turbulence as love. They mistake turmoil for bonding, theatrics for fervor, and become dependent on emotional instability. Mature men, however, grasp that affection-lacking respect is merely disguised manipulation. A woman's regard for you dictates all: her inflection, her faithfulness, her desire. The instant she perceives frailty in your resolve, she will subconsciously probe it until it fractures. This isn't malice. It is her instinct to find strength. As a plant leans toward the light, a woman's focus leans toward masculine resolve. You must embody that resolve. It starts with a single insight. Her validation is not required for your completeness. When you cease bartering your value for her focus, you tap into a strength few men ever discover. You begin viewing women not as redeemers or adversaries, but as mirrors, revealing the depth of your self-knowledge. Excessive craving for her highlights your own deficiency. Feeling whole regardless of her presence indicates your development. This is the truth all powerful men ultimately grasp. Your conquest isn't over women. It's over yourself. Upon achieving that, the entire landscape shifts. A man's greatest error is to assume love alone is sufficient. It is not. Affection devoid of power degrades into servility, and servility masked as romance inevitably breeds bitterness. A connection cannot be sustained purely by emotions. Emotions are like weather, fluctuating constantly. The glue that binds it is polarity. This is the dynamic charge between masculine groundedness and feminine vitality. If you dissolve into emotional dependency, that polarity is neutralized, and the bond perishes. The majority of men lack instruction on maintaining frame within a relationship. To hold frame is to preserve your core identity, regardless of the emotional tempests she presents. This isn't obstinance, it is consciousness. You acknowledge her feelings without being submerged by them. You show empathy without absorbing her emotions. You remain anchored in reason while comprehending her state, and this equilibrium is what secures a woman's trust. Fundamentally, she doesn't desire a man who mirrors her every emotion. She needs a man capable of anchoring her through her feelings. She requires your stability, not just your commiseration. You will observe that your level of respect received is inversely proportional to your emotional reactivity. Society and women are innately drawn to men who maintain composure under pressure. You need not elevate your volume to be potent. Strength communicates silently. It is visible in your poise when she anticipates turmoil. It is in your restraint when she anticipates alarm. This is the moment she recognizes your distinction from other men. That is how you become exceptional. Respect cannot be constructed with justifications. It is constructed with conduct. Each instance you establish a limit and uphold it calmly, you condition her to respect you. Each time you over-elaborate, rationalize, or beg to be understood, you condition her to question you. Talk is inexpensive, but consistency is scarce, and a scarce man holds more value than one who is desperate. If she attempts to incite jealousy, do not react. Smile. If she retracts her affection, do not plead. Mirror her distance. If she levies unjust criticism, refrain from defending. Watch placidly and select your reply. This isn't game playing. It is communicating in the dialect women truly comprehend: energy, tone, and consistency. She senses your essence more acutely than she processes your words. And this is a fact all strong men ultimately discover. Women do not fall in love with the man who provides perfect treatment. They fall in love with the man who evokes an uncontrollable feeling within them. This feeling, however, must stem from your stable energy, not from turmoil. When you are immovable, you provide emotional security, and emotional security fosters desire. This is why she reminisces post-breakup, not due to your perfection, but because your absence was palpable in all other men she encountered. Do not attempt to demonstrate your goodness. Embody it, silently, persistently, without strain. Cease pursuing approval, focus, or confirmation. Construct an existence that inherently attracts it. When your days are filled with meaning, your career, your physique, your skill, your ambition, you no longer revolve around women. You become the star at your own center, and all else begins to orbit you. A woman's fondness is not a prize for your dedication. It is a mirror of your own energy. If her respect wanes, it is not due to cruelty. It is because you ceased to personify the traits she initially admired. Your principles became malleable. You bartered self-control for ease. You mistook love for capitulation rather than direction. Women do not desire to lead. They need to feel secure with a man who is capable. This is the failing of most contemporary men. They are dependent on female approval. They believe a woman's selection signifies their success. In truth, being selected is meaningless if your identity is sacrificed. Authentic masculinity is not about domination. It is about command. You do not control her. You command your own energy. You do not insist on her fidelity. You motivate it. You do not dread her departure. You dread losing your own integrity. This is the distinction between the powerful and the servile. Ultimately, a woman cannot exploit you when you are free from dependence on her validation. The instant you disconnect from emotional neediness, you gain unpredictability. And unpredictability is strength. You cease performing for her focus. You are setting the tempo for the whole dynamic. This is what makes a man formidable in the most positive sense. He is emotionally sovereign. Many men equate strength with dominance. True strength, however, is discipline. Dominance evaporates when it encounters opposition. Discipline persists through all turbulence. This is never more crucial than in interactions with women. Victory isn't achieved by suppressing her emotions. Victory is achieved by mastering your own. Losing command of your emotional state means giving her control of your psyche. You shift from responsive to reactive, from deliberate to desperate, from noble to needy. Contemporary man is trained to pursue, to appease, and to seek validation perpetually. The sagacious man knows the contrary truth. Restraint is the source of power. When you cease justifying your value and begin living it, the whole interaction transforms. She senses it. Your quiet becomes more potent than your speech. Your non-presence weighs more than your former presence. You are no longer the man sending long texts seeking to be understood. You are the man whose brief messages demand focus. As your self-mastery increases, so does your gravitas. Emotional self-control is masculine allure. Your words are not what entrance her. It's the sense that you have no compulsion to speak at all. Grasp this. Women are creatures of emotion. They experience life through feeling. This isn't a critique, it is biology. Their desire is not a logical process. It is visceral. You cannot debate a woman into loving you, nor can you persuade her into respecting you. She must feel her way to both states. Therefore, cease your attempts to convince and begin to personify. The most powerful men never argue their worth. They exude it. And that aura originates from a single place: internal peace. Internal peace is forged in hardship. Each broken heart, each refusal, each act of manipulation, these are not penalties. They are lessons. The woman who vanished, the one who shamed you, the one who exploited your decency, they were instructors sent to reveal your vulnerabilities. The instant you shift from victim to student, you transform. You develop emotional anti-fragility. You no longer crumble when a woman withdraws, recognizing your value was never contingent on her proximity. Here is a topic men seldom discuss. Strength isn't gained by evading women. Strength is built by learning to interact with them while retaining your identity. The monastic path of seclusion may shield your tranquility, but it won't forge your power. Real strength is proven in engagement. When you can face allure, temptation, and turmoil, yet remain composed, you have achieved self-mastery. Women can sense that composure. They perceive when a man is internally steadfast. This is what attracts them. Not your appearance, not your wealth, but your stillness. A woman cannot genuinely bond with a man she can manipulate. She must sense your parameters, your limits, your resolve. Her tests are not for your destruction, they are for your measurement. She is asking, deep down, can this man handle my chaos? If you can, she settles. If you cannot, she assumes control. Once she assumes control, respect perishes. And when respect perishes, attraction is next to die. This is the progression most men overlook. Do you wonder why her affection ceased? Why her interest suddenly vanished? It isn't because she located someone superior. It's because you ceased being yourself. You abdicated leadership. You grew reactive to her emotions, starved for her validation, and she sensed it. Women are like emotional seismographs. They detect your insecurity even when you believe it's concealed. The instant she perceives her role in your happiness, she instinctively starts to disengage. Dependency is burdensome, and feminine energy thrives only in lightness. Strength cannot be feigned. It is cultivated only through solitude, purpose, and the mastery of impulse control. When you can be alone in quiet and feel whole, you are inoculated against manipulation. A man who genuinely enjoys his own solitude is invulnerable, for he has conquered the fear of abandonment. He is already complete. This is what makes him scarce. This is what makes him valuable. Here is the reality few will acknowledge. Most men are not in relationships out of love for the woman. They are in them due to a fear of solitude. They desire emotional refuge more than genuine connection. This is the reason they are exploited. A woman detects when a man's presence stems from fear, not from choice. Once she senses that dependency, her respect erodes. This isn't cruelty, it is instinct. Her wiring makes her admire the man who selects her, not the one who requires her. The distinction is paramount. A sovereign man can depart, not from indifference, but from an unwillingness to compromise his self-respect. A weak man remains, atoning for non-existent faults, diminishing himself to prevent her exit. Yet she departs regardless, as attraction cannot be built from pity. The man who is not needy for her is never desperate for her validation. This is precisely why she offers it. Women are not drawn to control. They are drawn to certainty. They need to sense your stability as a constant, like gravity, immovable even as they fluctuate. Most connections collapse because men begin to perform. They cease being the men they were prior to her. They forsake their mission, their drive, their ambition, believing love requires a total merger. But love is not synonymous with self-loss. It means remaining so anchored in your identity that she feels secure enough to flourish nearby. Forgetting your purpose destroys polarity. Losing polarity makes you her emotional duplicate, not her masculine opposite. She does not desire a second version of herself. She desires a man she can admire. The instant you begin prioritizing her happiness above all, you generate a paradox. She grows less happy, as happiness isn't derived from a man who is compliant. It is derived from a man who leads. Leadership is not domination. It is direction. It is the calm self-assurance of a man with a clear path who invites her to join. Her challenges to that path are not bids for control. They are tests to feel if your vision is robust enough to endure her skepticism. This is how trust is forged. Cease trying to persuade women with speech. Demonstrate with action. If you state an intention, execute it. If you vow discipline, embody it. If you claim to be different from other men, validate it with consistency. A woman's heart unlocks not for rhetoric, but for patterns, for seeing that regardless of circumstance, you remain the same man, calm, certain, and composed. Do you know what women find truly attractive? A man who possesses direction when she lacks it. When she is inundated, you remain anchored. When she is emotional, you remain logical. When she is disoriented, you remain clear. This is what compels her to trust your energy. This is what permits her to relax into her femininity. She cannot do that with an emotionally unstable man. Once you finally master calmness in chaos, everything is altered. You cease to fear her loss, realizing she was never yours to possess in the first place. You merely experienced her. The sole possession you truly have in this life is yourself, your peace, your mind, your focus. This is the origin of true masculine power. It isn't about outwitting women. It's about such profound self-mastery that their ploys cannot touch you. When you stop striving to win with women, you begin winning with women. Your power shifts from reactive to magnetic. She senses it in your tone, your presence, your gaze. You have ceased pursuing her validation, being too occupied with building your empire. You are too focused on your discipline to be diverted by emotional turmoil. And that is when she gravitates toward you again, not from your effort, but from your scarcity. Scarcity creates value. The less emotionally accessible you are to static, the more precious your focus becomes. When your attention is given selectively, it has significance. That is the energy that demands respect in all settings, not only with women. The world yields to the man who masters his focus. The man who achieves self-understanding becomes invulnerable, not through perfection, but by freeing himself from the dependence on validation that once governed him. He no longer pursues women, having learned that attraction isn't begged for. It's embodied. He refrains from arguing, proving, or performing. He simply exists in total alignment with his principles, causing all unworthy things to naturally recede. This is the secret most men do not live to discover. When you cease trying to force women's love, the appropriate ones can at last perceive you. She is not meant to make you whole. She is meant to complement you. But without self-construction, there is nothing to complement. You cannot anticipate a woman's respect for qualities you have not yet fostered internally. You desire loyalty? Be loyal to your own purpose. You desire respect? Live an existence that merits it. You desire peace? Stop pursuing turmoil and labeling it love. Each man's true conflict is not with women, but with his own mirror image. The weak man views his reflection and sees only his deficiencies. The strong man views his reflection and sees his remaining potential. And at this point, wisdom emerges. Women are not the destroyers of men. Men destroy themselves when they disregard their own intuition. You invariably detect when a woman is exploiting you. You invariably feel when something is amiss. Yet rather than acting, you justify it, driven by the fear of losing her. This is not love. It is self-betrayal. You violate your own boundaries, wishing she'll value your sacrifice, but she only loses respect. For she also knows that a man who fails to defend himself is incapable of protecting her. The instant you begin operating from self-respect, everything shifts. You cease to tolerate mixed messages, emotional games, and erratic conduct. You stop pleading for closure, as your tranquility is no longer contingent on another's explanation. You begin selecting solitude over absurdity, calm over turmoil, truth over ease. You become a man who doesn't flee from pain. Understanding it is integral to growth. You hold no fear of losing anyone, having already secured yourself. Upon reaching that state of groundedness, women react differently. They sense your stillness as an anchor. They perceive your lack of need, coupled with your genuine value for them. That differentiation alters everything. A man free of need is magnetic. A man who gives unconditionally without expectation is scarce. You stop behaving like a boy seeking approval and start moving like a king selecting alignment. You do not inquire if she loves you. You observe her treatment of your peace, because a woman who genuinely loves you will safeguard your peace, not disrupt it. Thus, the final truth: cease trying to impress women. Impress yourself. Construct an existence so rich with purpose that she must either elevate to join you or depart. Either result is acceptable. As you ascend, your need for others diminishes. The correct woman will not deplete you. She will amplify you. You will recognize her not by her appearance, but by the state of your soul in her presence. Calm, not chaotic. Until that time, continue building, continue honing, continue evolving. For the man who masters his emotions masters his world. Do not fear being misinterpreted. Fear being unmemorable. Do not pursue her energy. Become its origin. That is when life yields to your will. That is when women cease testing and commence trusting. And that is when you at last understand you were not designed to pursue love. You were designed to personify it. If this dispatch found you, you are not like the majority of men. You are now conscious. You perceive the patterns with clarity. Therefore, maintain high standards, hold your energy as sacred, and keep your focus inviolable. Because the instant you achieve self-mastery, the world, women included, will reconfigure around your tranquility. And if this resonated, brother, be sure to like, share, and subscribe. The world requires more strong, grounded, self-aware men. Support this channel via the link in the description. And recall, the man who understands himself never pleads to be understood. He just exists in truth and allows all else to align accordingly.